Welcome to a thrilling story of trust, betrayal, and resilience. Ben Cooper and his longtime friend Mark Lawson are on the brink of a massive deal that could transform their company, Nova Mind, forever. But one night, a waitress named Samantha overhears a chilling conversation, a plot that could cost Ben everything he's built. As Ben uncovers layer upon layer of deception, he's forced to fight not just for his company, but for his legacy. With Samantha's unexpected help, he prepares to face his greatest challenge yet, one that will push him to the edge of loyalty and ambition. Will Ben overcome the ultimate betrayal, or will his closest friend turn out to be his worst enemy? If you're intrigued, don't forget to subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you enjoy stories packed with twists and high stakes. Now let's dive in. Ben Cooper adjusted the crisp cuff of his suit, feeling a quiet sense of triumph. This was no ordinary meeting. Tonight was the celebration of a lifetime's work. Over a decade ago, he and his best friend, Mark Lawson, had founded Nova Mind Solutions, a fledgling tech startup. With countless hours, late nights, and a steady stream of hope, the company had grown into an industry force. Now their hard work was about to pay off with the signing of a transformative partnership deal, elevating Nova Mind to a level that few startups ever reach. Ben glanced around the upscale cafe, a favorite among entrepreneurs and executives looking for an elegant but quiet atmosphere. The soft hum of conversation and the subtle clinking of glasses created a tranquil backdrop, one that let his thoughts linger on the years of late nights, their first tiny office, and all the triumphs and setbacks along the way. Across from him, Mark was scrolling through his phone, pausing every so often to give Ben a confident grin. "Can you believe we made it here?" Mark finally said, setting down his phone. "Not without some battle scars," Ben replied, chuckling. "But yes, it's almost surreal." Mark nodded, his eyes gleaming with a hint of satisfaction. "This deal will set us up for life. We'll be able to shape Nova Mind however we want." As he spoke, their waitress, a young woman in her early 20s with curly brown hair and an attentive air, approached. She refilled their water glasses with a practiced hand and a polite, distant smile. 2 hours later, Ben stood and excused himself to the restroom, leaving Mark alone. Samantha Gray had been working at the cafe for nearly a year. She'd learned a lot from listening to the snippets of conversations of wealthy clients, corporate lingo, phrases about stock shares, marketing strategies. Sometimes, when she was clearing tables or refilling glasses, she'd catch glimpses of this world, a place far removed from her own life. Her dream was to go back to school and finish her degree in economics, but for now, she kept her head down and worked her shifts. Today, however, was different. As she approached the table to check on the drinks, she overheard Mark, who was now on the phone. She slowed her steps, her hand gripping the pitcher of water as she strained to make sense of his words. "Yes, everything's set," Mark was saying, his voice just low enough to avoid drawing attention from nearby tables. "Ben has no idea. As soon as the ink dries, I'll have control of the majority. By the time he realizes what happened, it'll be too late." Samantha's eyes widened as she quickly withdrew to the kitchen, her heart pounding. She leaned against the wall, her mind racing. Had she heard that right? Mark, Ben's best friend, was plotting to betray him, on the very night they were celebrating their success. She bit her lip, uncertain of what to do. She had no personal connection to these men. They were just customers. But the thought of someone betraying a friend this deeply made her stomach turn. Could she in good conscience ignore this? When Ben returned to the table, he was surprised to see the young waitress standing nearby, her face unusually tense. Her eyes met his, and she took a breath, stepping closer. "Excuse me, sir," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Could I speak with you for a moment?" Ben glanced at her, puzzled. "Of course. Is everything okay?" Samantha's gaze flicked toward the door where Mark had stepped out to take his call. I heard something," she began, her voice shaking slightly, "and I think you should know about it." Ben's frown deepened as he nodded for her to continue. She glanced around to make sure no one was listening and then leaned in, speaking softly. "I overheard your friend on the phone," she said. "He was talking about taking control of everything, leaving you with nothing. I don't know exactly what he meant, but it sounded like betrayal. Ben blinked, caught off guard by her words. He felt a strange mix of confusion and disbelief. He had known Mark for over 2 decades, trusted him like family. The idea that he would plot against him was absurd. Or was it? "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low, his gaze searching. Samantha nodded, her face full of earnest sincerity. "I wouldn't be telling you this if I didn't think it was true. I just couldn't let you walk into this without knowing." Ben took a deep breath, his mind reeling. Part of him wanted to dismiss the waitress's warning, but another part couldn't ignore the nervous urgency in her voice. "Thank you," he said finally, feeling a strange weight settle over him. "I appreciate it." Samantha nodded and stepped back, leaving him with his thoughts. Ben's gaze drifted toward the door, where Mark was still on his call. The celebration had suddenly turned cold, and a knot of suspicion twisted in his gut. As Mark rejoined him at the table, laughing about something on his phone, Ben forced a smile, though his stomach churned. How much of what Samantha had said could he believe? Could it have been a misunderstanding, a coincidence? But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He had known Mark since they were kids, but people changed. Could it be possible that Mark had let ambition get the better of him? Or was it merely his own insecurities? They continued the evening, but for Ben, the celebration was ruined. His every word with Mark felt charged with hidden meanings, and every laugh felt like a facade. The next morning, Ben didn't waste time. He reached out to a contact, Ethan Miller, a seasoned private investigator with whom he'd worked on delicate matters before. When he explained the situation, Ethan agreed to start looking into Mark's recent activities, focusing especially on any unusual financial transactions or alliances with rival firms. Days passed, each one heavier with anticipation. Ben met with Mark during routine work meetings, each encounter a strange mix of trust and suspicion. Ethan finally called back with preliminary findings that only heightened Ben's unease. "There are a few things that stand out," Ethan said over the phone. "Your friend has been making some offshore transactions, smaller amounts, but frequent. It's not illegal, but it's worth noting, especially if he's preparing to make a move." Ben's pulse quickened. Offshore accounts were not typically part of Mark's or Novamind's financial dealings. The evidence was building, one unnerving piece at a time. Ben wrestled with what he was learning. Memories of shared victories and dreams surfaced, clashing with the unsettling reality of Mark's recent actions. Could he truly confront his oldest friend without irrefutable proof? Mark, oblivious to the investigation, continued their meetings as usual, sometimes glancing at Ben with a concerned look, as if sensing something amiss. Yet he remained his usual charming, confident self. To Ben, it felt as if he were watching a stranger through a glass wall. Ethan contacted Ben one evening with a breakthrough. "We've found enough to confirm your suspicions," he said. "Not only has Mark been funneling funds offshore, but he's also been in contact with several competing firms. It's clear he's positioning himself for a power grab once the deal goes through." Ben's heart sank, his worst fears realized. The man he had trusted most had been planning this betrayal for months. The evidence painted a chilling picture. Mark's betrayal wasn't an impulsive decision, but a calculated, methodical scheme. The next day, Ben arranged to meet with Mark under the pretense of discussing the deal. In truth, he was ready to confront him, needing answers, closure, something to help make sense of the devastation. They sat across from each other, Mark animated as he discussed their plans. Ben, however, barely heard him, focusing instead on the controlled, carefully chosen words he had prepared. "Mark," he said finally, his voice tight with restrained anger, "I know what you've been planning." Mark froze, his smile faltering. "What are you talking about, Ben?" "Offshore accounts, secret calls to rival firms, all of it. You've been scheming behind my back, haven't you?" Mark's face hardened, his friendly demeanor slipping. "I see you've been doing some snooping," he said, his voice cold. "So what's your plan? Fire me? I built this company with you, Ben." Ben's heart broke a little with each word, but his resolve stayed strong. He had enough evidence to protect Novamind, but the damage to their friendship felt irreparable. "Just answer one thing, Mark," Ben said quietly. "Why?" Mark sneered. "Because you've always been the one in the spotlight. I'm done standing in your shadow. Ben sat alone in his office, staring blankly at the evidence Ethan had uncovered. He replayed every memory he had with Mark, each moment of trust and shared dreams tainted by this harsh revelation. How could someone he considered a brother betray him so thoroughly? The phone buzzed, and Ben jolted back to the present. It was Samantha. She had been on his mind since she first approached him at the cafe, her quiet bravery and integrity standing out like a beacon. Her courage in speaking up had saved him, and he knew he couldn't have uncovered the truth about Mark without her warning. As he picked up the phone, Samantha's voice came through, hesitant but steady. "Mr. Cooper, I just wanted to check in. Are you okay?" Ben took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Thanks for calling, Samantha. I appreciate it. I wanted to say thank you. If you hadn't warned me, I would have signed away everything." There was a pause, and then Samantha spoke quietly. "It was the right thing to do, but I'm sorry you're going through this." After a moment, Ben gathered his thoughts. "Samantha, would you be interested in meeting sometime this week? I think we could use someone with your insight here at Nova Mind." The next morning, Ben took the first steps to protect Nova Mind from Mark's anticipated moves. He reached out to his legal team and ordered an audit of Mark's activities within the company. Though Ethan's findings had provided a crucial piece of the puzzle, Ben needed more than suspicion to prevent Mark from sabotaging Nova Mind further. As he sat through meetings, Ben noticed himself watching Mark differently, scrutinizing every expression and movement. Each smile from Mark felt insincere, every reassuring comment a disguise. Ben kept his distance, playing along in conversations about their shared future in Nova Mind, while secretly orchestrating his plan to outmaneuver Mark's takeover. Later that day, Samantha arrived at Nova Mind for her first meeting. She seemed both nervous and excited, glancing around the polished office halls with wide eyes. Ben welcomed her into his office and offered her a seat. "Samantha, I appreciate your courage in coming forward. I know it wasn't easy, and I'd like to offer you a position here. I need someone I can trust to help keep things in order, especially with the legal and financial matters we'll be handling." Samantha's eyes widened. "You mean a job? Here?" Ben nodded, smiling. "We could use your skills, and I think you'd bring a valuable perspective. Are you interested?" After a moment's hesitation, Samantha smiled. "I'd be honored. Thank you, Mr. Cooper." As the days passed, Ben found himself caught in a delicate balance. On one hand, keeping up the facade of friendship with Mark. On the other, protecting his company from Mark's underhanded ambitions. Every business meeting, every shared lunch, felt tainted by deception. During one of their weekly executive meetings, Mark presented an unusually aggressive expansion plan, emphasizing rapid acquisitions. Ben noticed a glimmer of impatience in Mark's eyes as he argued for immediate approval. Ben raised an eyebrow. "Mark, maybe we should take more time to review these options. Moving too fast could put us in a risky position." Mark's expression hardened briefly before he masked it with a smile. "Come on, Ben. We've been moving cautiously for years. This is our moment." Ben held his ground, giving a slight nod to the other board members who echoed his concerns. Mark relented, but Ben sensed a growing tension. For the first time, he saw hints of the resentment Samantha had warned him about. A week later, Ethan called with significant findings. He had traced a series of communications between Mark and a rival firm, Vertex Dynamics, which was known for its cutthroat tactics. These conversations suggested that Mark was preparing to sell off key assets of Nova Mind to Vertex following the deal, effectively dismantling the company from within. When Ben read the report, his initial shock turned to anger. Mark had planned this betrayal with the precision of a surgeon, down to the timing of the deal's signing. Fueled by this evidence, Ben decided it was time to confront Mark. But he would need a plan, one that would not only protect Nova Mind but also prevent Mark from causing further damage. As Ben continued to navigate the complexities of Mark's betrayal, he found himself increasingly relying on Samantha's insights. She had quickly adapted to her new role, assisting with financial assessments and helping the legal team trace suspicious accounts linked to Mark. One afternoon, as Samantha and Ben were reviewing Mark's transactions, she hesitated before speaking. "Mr. Cooper, if I may? There's a pattern in these transfers. It looks like Mark has been gradually moving assets in a way that avoids setting off any red flags. Ben glanced at her, impressed. You've got a keen eye, Samantha. You're exactly right. He's been meticulous, making small moves to avoid attention. Samantha blushed slightly but nodded. Thank you. I'm just glad I can help. Ben couldn't help but feel a sense of pride seeing her thrive in this environment. With her sharp mind and integrity, she was becoming an invaluable asset, a trusted ally amid the turmoil Mark had caused. With more evidence mounting, Ben confronted Mark indirectly, testing his friend's loyalty in subtle ways. He set up a meeting and suggested changes to the deal, implying that these modifications would give Mark a greater stake in Novamind. Mark's reaction was exactly what Ben expected. He grew suspicious, evasive, and avoided giving any concrete answers. Later that day, Ben met with his legal team and shared Ethan's report. His lead attorney, Lisa Bradford, reviewed the findings, frowning as she skimmed the documents. Ben, this goes beyond simple betrayal, Lisa said. Mark has committed multiple offenses here. We have enough to take legal action. Ben nodded, though the decision pained him. Let's do it, but carefully. I want to freeze his access without tipping him off just yet. We need to build an airtight case. As Ben tightened his legal strategy, Mark grew more agitated. Samantha noticed that he seemed to avoid eye contact with her and was brusquer in meetings. She mentioned this to Ben, who took it as a sign that Mark suspected he was losing control over his scheme. That evening, Samantha approached Ben in his office. Mr. Cooper, I've been reviewing additional documents. There are inconsistencies in the assets Vertex Dynamics holds. It's almost as if they're anticipating an influx of resources soon. Ben's eyes widened as Samantha handed him the file. If Mark's planning to transfer part of Novamind to them, it would make sense. But how did you figure this out? Samantha shrugged, smiling shyly. Just a hunch. I thought it was worth checking. Ben grinned, appreciating her instincts and dedication. You're invaluable, Samantha. Thank you. With Lisa's help, Ben began preparing a legal case against Mark. But they needed concrete proof of intent, something to show that Mark was actively working against Novamind. Ethan's team managed to retrieve a deleted email thread in which Mark detailed his plans to Vertex executives, laying out how he would shift assets post-deal. When Lisa reviewed the email, her eyes lit up. This is it, Ben. This email is exactly what we need. With this, we can not only prevent Mark from taking control, but also seek damages. Ben felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Mark's betrayal was complete. There was no doubt left. The man he had once trusted with his life was now nothing more than a business adversary. With the case ready to move forward, Ben knew he couldn't avoid a confrontation with Mark any longer. He arranged a meeting at a neutral location, a quiet, private conference room where they often discussed sensitive business matters. Mark arrived wearing a confident grin, clearly unaware of the revelations that awaited him. Ben took a deep breath, steeling himself. Mark, I know what you've been planning. The offshore accounts, the back-channel deals with Vertex Dynamics. We've uncovered everything. Mark's smile froze, then slowly faded as he realized Ben wasn't bluffing. His expression shifted, a flash of anger flickering across his face. So you've been spying on me? He asked, voice cold. No, Mark. I trusted you. But your actions spoke louder than words. For the first time, Mark's facade cracked. He leaned forward, bitterness dripping from his words. You think you're better than me, don't you, Ben? Always in the spotlight, always praised. I'm the one who made the hard choices. You just coasted on your charm. Ben's jaw tightened, but he stayed calm. You chose betrayal. That was never the only option. Mark glared at him, his last vestiges of friendship dissolving into open hostility. Then I'll see you in court, Ben. With Mark's intentions laid bare, Ben's legal team moved quickly. They filed a suit against Mark for fraud, asset misappropriation, and breach of fiduciary duty. The court issued an emergency injunction, freezing all of Mark's assets tied to Novamind and blocking any attempted transfers to Vertex Dynamics. Samantha stayed late that night, helping Ben and Lisa finalize the paperwork. As she glanced up from her desk, she saw the toll this ordeal had taken on Ben. He looked tired, yet determined, a man who had faced betrayal but refused to let it break him. "I just wanted to say," Samantha said quietly, "I think it's brave, what you're doing, standing up to someone you once trusted." Ben gave her a tired smile. "Thank you, Samantha. I couldn't have done this without your help." The next morning, Ben gathered his senior team and updated them on the situation. Though shaken by the news of Mark's betrayal, his team stood by him, pledging their support and rallying around Novamind's future. Ben felt a weight lifting as he looked at the loyal faces around him. He hadn't lost everything. He still had a dedicated team, a thriving company, and a promising ally in Samantha. With this renewed resolve, Ben prepared for the next chapter in his fight to protect Novamind from the wreckage Mark had tried to bring upon it. As dawn broke the morning after Ben filed the lawsuit, a heavy silence filled his office. His phone buzzed with notifications and messages, many from colleagues and friends expressing shock at the news that Ben had initiated legal action against Mark. For those who had watched Ben and Mark's partnership flourish, the lawsuit felt unimaginable. But Ben knew that without decisive action, Novamind would be left vulnerable. At the same time, Ben couldn't ignore the emotional toll. Memories of their college days, the late-night brainstorming sessions, and moments of triumph haunted him. Mark had been there through everything. The idea of him now as an adversary felt surreal and painful. Samantha entered Ben's office with a steaming cup of coffee, sensing the gravity in his expression. "Are you ready for today's meeting with the legal team?" she asked gently. Ben nodded, setting his thoughts aside. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Thanks, Samantha." Her quiet presence was reassuring, reminding Ben that he still had allies by his side. He couldn't allow his emotions to cloud his judgment. Too much was at stake. The day of the first court hearing arrived faster than Ben expected. As he stepped into the courtroom with his legal team, a sense of calm determination settled over him. Mark was seated on the opposite side, his usual charisma replaced with a cold, guarded demeanor. The judge began with preliminary matters, including the injunction that froze Mark's assets and prohibited any transfer of Novamind's resources to outside parties. Ben's attorney, Lisa Bradford, presented the evidence they had collected: the offshore accounts, the secret meetings with Vertex Dynamics, and Mark's email exchanges detailing his plans to acquire control. Mark's attorney attempted to dismiss the evidence as circumstantial, but Lisa held her ground, countering each argument with professionalism and precision. It was clear to everyone in the room that Lisa had prepared for this confrontation as if it were her life's mission. By the end of the hearing, the judge ruled in Ben's favor, upholding the injunction and allowing Novamind to continue its internal audit. Mark left the courtroom without a word, his jaw clenched as he brushed past Ben. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of the damage done, only anger. The finality of the judge's ruling felt like a victory, yet it was bittersweet. Ben realized that his best friend was now his fiercest competitor, and their bond was severed beyond repair. The day after the hearing, Mark stormed into Ben's office unannounced, his face flushed with anger. Ben glanced up, momentarily taken aback by the intensity in Mark's expression. "Ben, what on earth do you think you're doing?" Mark demanded, his voice barely controlled. "You're throwing away years of partnership, all because of some ridiculous accusation." Ben stood, his own anger simmering beneath the surface. "I didn't throw anything away, Mark. You did the moment you started plotting behind my back." Mark's laugh was bitter, full of resentment. "Is that what you think? That I'm the villain here? You've always been in the spotlight, Ben. I've been the one working in your shadow, the one making sure everything runs smoothly. But when it comes to recognition, it's always you." Ben's expression hardened. "So this is about jealousy? That's why you thought you could steal everything from me?" Mark sneered. "It's about what's fair, Ben. I put just as much into this company as you did. I deserve more than a pat on the back." "Fair?" Ben's voice grew cold. "You think it's fair to betray the person who trusted you most?" Mark glared at him, and for a moment the room was silent. Then, with a final look of contempt, Mark turned on his heel and left. Ben sank into his chair, his mind reeling. The confrontation had confirmed what he already knew. Mark's ambition had destroyed the very foundation of their friendship. Ben knew that Mark wouldn't retreat quietly. Determined to safeguard Novamind, Ben spent the next week meeting with his board and the senior management team, outlining his plans to stabilize the company. They needed a clear path forward to reassure investors and clients who might be rattled by the publicized lawsuit. As he worked late one evening, Samantha knocked and entered his office. "I know you're busy, but I thought you might like an update," she said, setting a file on his desk. "I've been working with the finance team to ensure all accounts are secure and closely monitored. I think we're in a solid position." Ben glanced up, a flicker of gratitude crossing his face. "Thank you, Samantha. Your support has meant more than I can say." Samantha smiled, sensing his exhaustion. "I'm glad to help, and if there's anything more I can do, please let me know." Her loyalty and dedication were a lifeline in these difficult days. With her by his side, Ben felt a renewed sense of determination. He wasn't alone in this fight, and with allies like Samantha, he knew he could protect the company he had worked so hard to build. Word of the confrontation between Ben and Mark spread through Nova Mind, reaching employees and stakeholders alike. As rumors circulated, Ben held a company-wide meeting to address the situation openly. Standing before his team, he spoke with honesty and transparency, detailing his commitment to protecting Nova Mind and ensuring its success. "I understand the uncertainty this situation may cause," he said, meeting the eyes of his employees. "But I want each of you to know that this company was built on integrity, and we will continue to uphold those values. I am committed to steering us through this together." The employees responded with applause, and Ben felt a surge of pride and gratitude. Despite the challenges, he had earned their trust, and that trust would be his foundation as he navigated the path ahead. Mark, however, wasn't finished. Furious and humiliated, he reached out to media contacts and tried to twist the narrative, painting himself as the true creator of Nova Mind. He fed journalists stories about his vision for the company and hinted at alleged mistakes Ben had made over the years. His intent was clear: to undermine Ben's reputation and tarnish the company's image. As the media frenzy gained traction, Ben's PR team scrambled to control the narrative. With Samantha's help, they crafted a series of statements emphasizing Nova Mind's commitment to its mission and highlighting Ben's role in leading the company through challenging times. Samantha's analytical skills proved invaluable as she identified potential vulnerabilities and provided insights that helped the PR team stay one step ahead of Mark's attacks. With her support, Ben was able to counter Mark's misinformation and protect Nova Mind's public image. Throughout this period, Samantha became a pillar of strength for Ben. She worked tirelessly, often late into the night, coordinating with teams and offering fresh ideas that strengthened Nova Mind's position. Her unwavering dedication didn't go unnoticed by the rest of the team, and her presence in the company became more significant with each passing day. During one of their late-night sessions, Ben paused, watching Samantha as she reviewed yet another report. "You've been incredible, Samantha. I can't imagine getting through this without you." Samantha looked up, her expression softening. "Thank you, Mr. Cooper. I believe in this company, and in you. I know we'll come out stronger on the other side." Her quiet conviction touched Ben, reminding him of the loyalty and courage that had first brought her into his life. He knew now that Samantha was more than an employee. She was a true partner in navigating these turbulent times. Mark's actions became more desperate as Ben's legal and PR teams countered his every move. Sensing his strategy was failing, Mark reached out to several of Nova Mind's competitors, attempting to rally them against Ben. He spread rumors about Nova Mind's supposed instability, hoping to shake the confidence of clients and investors. Ethan's investigative team intercepted a communication between Mark and a rival company, in which he proposed a partnership to take down Nova Mind. This revelation solidified Ben's resolve to move forward with the lawsuit and protect his company at all costs. "Mark is out of control," Ethan told Ben over the phone. "He's willing to burn everything down if it means taking you with him." Ben's jaw tightened. "Let him try. We're not backing down." As the confrontation between Ben and Mark escalated, Nova Mind's board rallied around Ben, showing their full support. They believed in his vision and knew that his integrity was unshakable. Ben felt a surge of gratitude for their loyalty and commitment. Realizing that Nova Mind was more than just a company, It was a community built on trust. Samantha, sensing the weight of the decisions before him, offered a quiet word of encouragement. "You have what it takes to get through this, Mr. Cooper. Everyone here believes in you." Her words bolstered his resolve. He knew the path ahead would be challenging, but with allies like Samantha and the support of his team, he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The day before the second court hearing, Ben gathered his legal team, Samantha, and his senior advisors. He outlined his vision for Novamind's future. A future without Mark's interference, a company built on transparency and resilience. His team listened intently, and by the end of the meeting, a sense of unity filled the room. As they dispersed, Samantha lingered, her gaze steady. "I just wanted to say, no matter what happens tomorrow, you have everyone's trust. We're with you." Ben smiled, feeling a renewed strength. "Thank you, Samantha. I couldn't ask for a better team." The following day, Ben entered the courtroom with confidence. The weight of Mark's betrayal was still heavy, but he felt ready, prepared for whatever accusations or defenses Mark's team might present. As the proceedings began, Lisa expertly presented their case, refuting each of Mark's claims with precision and clarity. Ben watched as Mark's smug demeanor faltered, replaced with frustration and uncertainty. The tide was turning, and Ben knew that with his team by his side, he could finally see a future where Novamind would thrive once again. The court's rulings left Novamind on solid footing, and the support of Ben's legal team ensured that Mark's assets remained frozen. But as Ben worked to restore normalcy, his first task was to stabilize operations within the company. This meant reassuring clients, strengthening internal security, and fortifying the company's reputation after Mark's public smear campaign. Samantha, now fully integrated into the finance team, became his right hand in this effort. She had shown herself to be both diligent and creative, often proposing solutions that no one else had considered. One morning, she joined Ben in his office, presenting a proposal aimed at tightening financial controls to prevent any similar incidents in the future. "If we implement these changes," she explained, "it'll be harder for anyone to exploit the system from within. Plus, clients will see that we're taking proactive steps." Ben nodded, impressed. "You've thought of everything, Samantha. This is exactly what we need right now." Samantha smiled, her face lighting up. "Thank you, Mr. Cooper. I'm just glad to be part of the solution." As she spoke, Ben realized how invaluable she had become to him, not just as an employee, but as a trusted ally who understood both the gravity of their situation and the importance of rebuilding Novamind. Over the next few weeks, Ben and Samantha focused on damage control. Mark's smear campaign had left some clients and investors uneasy, and Ben spent hours on calls, personally reassuring each one. His honesty and commitment to transparency won them back, and Samantha's insights into the financial implications of Mark's actions provided clients with concrete reasons to stay. One afternoon, as they finished a call with a major client, Ben leaned back in his chair looking weary but relieved. "Thank you, Samantha. I couldn't have done this without you." Samantha hesitated before replying, her eyes thoughtful. "I know it's been difficult, but it's also been inspiring to see how you've handled all of this. Your transparency has made a real difference." Her words struck a chord, and Ben felt a surge of gratitude. With Samantha's loyalty and insight, he felt better equipped to navigate the murky waters Mark had left behind. Just when things were beginning to stabilize, news broke that Mark had attempted to leak a new story to the press, claiming that Novamind had been involved in financial misconduct under Ben's leadership. Although baseless, the rumors quickly gained traction, and the company's reputation took another hit. Ethan's investigative team tracked down the source, confirming that Mark was behind the slander. Furious but undeterred, Ben convened a strategy meeting with his PR team and legal counsel to respond effectively. They drafted a statement debunking Mark's claims and highlighting the evidence from the court proceedings that had exposed Mark's real motives. During the meeting, Samantha spoke up, her voice calm but confident. "We should also consider a proactive outreach strategy. If we contact key clients directly, we can assure them before they hear it through the media." Ben nodded, admiring her strategic thinking. "Good idea. Let's make that a priority." The team sprang into action, and by the end of the day, Novamind had neutralized most of the damage. Ben felt a renewed sense of strength, knowing he had done everything possible to protect his company, and that he wasn't facing the challenge alone. As the days passed, Samantha's role in the company continued to grow. She took on more responsibility, managing tasks that extended beyond her original position. Her contributions impressed not only Ben, but the entire management team. Her integrity and intelligence stood out, and her colleagues began looking to her as a leader. One evening, as they worked late on a presentation for the board, Ben paused, watching Samantha as she reviewed the slides. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I couldn't have gotten through any of this without you." Samantha looked up, a little surprised. "Thank you, Mr. Cooper. I'm just grateful to have had the chance to help." Her modesty struck Ben, and he realized how different she was from the power-hungry colleagues he had encountered over the years. Samantha's loyalty was rooted not in ambition, but in a genuine commitment to integrity, a quality that he knew Novamind needed now more than ever. After weeks of addressing fallout and re-establishing Novamind's stability, Ben convened a meeting with the senior leadership team to discuss the company's long-term vision. He wanted to turn the page on the past and refocus on the mission that had inspired Novamind's founding. "We've been through a lot," Ben began, addressing the team, "but it's time to look forward. I want to rebuild Novamind with a foundation of transparency, innovation, and trust, values that will carry us through any future challenges." The team responded enthusiastically, and as the meeting concluded, Ben felt a sense of purpose returning. With Mark's influence behind them, he knew Novamind had a bright future, and that Samantha would be a key part of it. The following week, Ben called Samantha into his office. She entered with her usual smile, though her expression held a hint of curiosity. "I wanted to talk to you about your future here at Novamind," Ben began, gesturing for her to take a seat. "You've proven yourself to be a critical asset to this company. Your dedication, intelligence, and integrity are unmatched, and I'd like to offer you a permanent leadership role." Samantha's eyes widened, her face a mixture of surprise and gratitude. I don't know what to say." "I'm honored, Mr. Cooper. But are you sure I'm ready for something like this?" Ben smiled, his tone reassuring. "Samantha, you've been ready for this since the moment you stepped up to help me during the toughest time in my career. You've earned this." Samantha's eyes shone with determination as she nodded. "Thank you. I won't let you down." Ben's confidence in her solidified her resolve. With her new role, Samantha felt a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to help Novamind succeed, not just for Ben's sake but for everyone who had trusted in her. With Samantha now officially part of Novamind's leadership team, Ben began delegating critical tasks to her. She took on responsibilities with a sense of ownership, overseeing financial operations and even contributing to strategy sessions. Under her guidance, Novamind launched new initiatives aimed at expanding into emerging markets. Her background in economics proved invaluable, allowing her to offer insights that not only impressed her colleagues, but led to tangible results for the company. One afternoon, Ben watched as Samantha presented a quarterly report to the board. Her poise and knowledge captivated everyone in the room, and by the end of the presentation, she had won the board's full support. Ben felt a sense of pride as he watched her, knowing that the company was in capable hands. Just as Novamind was beginning to thrive, Ben received an unsettling email from Ethan. Mark had been making inquiries about certain corporate laws, hinting at a possible loophole he might exploit to launch a last-minute appeal in court. Though his resources were limited, Mark seemed determined to cause as much disruption as he could. Ben gathered his legal team, briefing them on Mark's latest move. They prepared an airtight case to counter any potential appeals and took steps to block Mark's access to any remaining assets. By the time Mark filed his appeal, Ben's team was ready. The court swiftly dismissed Mark's motion, citing the overwhelming evidence against him. It was the final legal hurdle, and Ben felt a deep sense of relief as the judge's ruling came through. With Mark finally out of the picture, Novamind entered a new era. The company's reputation had been restored, and with Samantha's leadership, the team embarked on an ambitious expansion into international markets. Ben watched as she guided the team with steady confidence. blending her financial acumen with a commitment to ethical practices that resonated throughout the organization. Ben's admiration for Samantha grew as he saw her flourish in her role. She had proven herself not only as a skilled leader, but as someone who embodied the values that had inspired Novamind from the beginning. Several months after Mark's final attempt to disrupt the company, Ben hosted a celebration for the entire Novamind team. They rented a beautiful event space downtown, filling it with the employees, friends, and supporters who had stood by the company through its trials. As Ben took the stage to address the crowd, he glanced at Samantha, who was standing near the front with a proud, humble smile. "I want to take a moment to recognize someone who has been..." As Ben stood before the crowd, his gaze rested on Samantha, who looked both proud and slightly nervous. He cleared his throat, a smile spreading across his face. "Tonight isn't just about celebrating Novamind's success," he began, his voice steady and warm. "It's about honoring the people who make that success possible. The people who believe in what we're building and put their hearts into making it real." He paused, scanning the audience. "But there's one person here who deserves special recognition. A few months ago, I was facing one of the most challenging situations of my life. I wasn't sure who I could trust, and then, from the most unexpected place, someone stepped forward. Samantha Gray didn't just do her job, she risked her own peace and privacy to tell me the truth when I needed it most." The room filled with murmurs of surprise, as most of the team hadn't heard the full story. Samantha's cheeks flushed as she looked around, visibly moved by Ben's words. "She's proven to be one of the most insightful and dedicated people I've ever worked with," Ben continued, a touch of pride in his tone. "Tonight I'm proud to officially announce that Samantha will be joining our senior leadership team as our new Director of Financial Strategy. Her intelligence, integrity, and vision will help lead Novamind into the future." Applause erupted, and Samantha's face lit up with a mix of pride and disbelief as she joined Ben on stage. She took the microphone, her voice slightly shaky but filled with conviction. I don't know what to say," she began, looking out at her colleagues and mentors. "I never imagined that I'd be standing here tonight, let alone in this role. But working at Novamind has been more than just a job. It's been a chance to be part of something bigger than myself, a place where honesty, resilience, and hard work truly matter." Her voice steadied as she looked at Ben, her eyes reflecting gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Cooper, for giving me this opportunity and for believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself. And to the team here tonight, I'm honored to work alongside each of you, and I promise to give my all to help us reach new heights together." The applause grew louder, with cheers and shouts of encouragement echoing through the room. Ben felt a swell of pride, knowing that Novamind was not only surviving but thriving. With Samantha and the team by his side, the company was poised for a future brighter than he could have hoped. The weeks following the celebration marked a turning point for Novamind. With Samantha officially stepping into her leadership role, the company's financial strategy was stronger and more innovative than ever. Her fresh ideas and rigorous attention to detail helped streamline operations, allowing Novamind to expand its reach and establish new partnerships internationally. Ben observed Samantha's progress with satisfaction, increasingly relying on her insights for major decisions. She proved not only to be an exceptional strategist, but a steady influence in the company's evolving culture. Her story of rising from a cafe waitress to a respected leader inspired everyone, reinforcing the values of integrity, hard work, and courage that Novamind held dear. One evening, after a particularly long day, Ben invited Samantha to his office. They shared a quiet moment, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. "I never got to properly thank you," Ben said, offering her a smile. "Without you, Novamind might have ended up in Mark's hands. I'm grateful every day for your bravery." Samantha smiled, her eyes sincere. "Thank you, Mr. Cooper. But I think we both know that Novamind's strength comes from the people who believe in it. You created a company worth standing up for." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights through the office windows. The trials and turmoil of the past months had forged a bond between them, one based on mutual respect and trust. As the last legal issues with Mark came to a close, Ben's lawyers confirmed that his former partner had been blocked from any future attempts to interfere with NovaMind. Mark had been forced to withdraw all appeals, his resources and influence exhausted. For Ben, it was a moment of closure. Although the pain of betrayal lingered, he knew that NovaMind was finally free from Mark's destructive influence. Ben took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known in months. He shared the news with Samantha and the rest of the team, and they gathered in the conference room for an informal celebration. It was a simple gesture, yet it marked the beginning of a new era for NovaMind, one filled with promise, integrity, and unshakable unity. As the months passed, NovaMind continued to thrive under the steady leadership of Ben, Samantha, and the senior team. With her guidance, the company expanded into new markets, launching successful products and building strategic partnerships with companies around the world. The story of NovaMind's resurgence became widely known in the industry, with Ben and Samantha often cited as examples of resilience and integrity. They received invitations to speak at conferences, sharing insights about their journey and the values that had sustained them through the toughest times. For Samantha, it was a dream realized. She had come so far from her days working at the cafe, and though her responsibilities had grown, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She was proud to be part of NovaMind, a company that had not only given her a chance, but had also transformed her life. On a warm spring afternoon, Ben and Samantha walked through the company's headquarters, taking in the vibrant atmosphere. The halls buzzed with energy, a testament to the strength and resilience that NovaMind had built over the years. Ben turned to Samantha, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You know, NovaMind is more than a business now. It's a legacy, a place where people come to grow, to make a difference." Samantha nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "And it's all because you never gave up, even when things seemed impossible." Ben smiled, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. NovaMind had survived the storm, and with people like Samantha at the helm, he knew it would continue to thrive for generations to come. Settling into her role as Director of Financial Strategy, Samantha took on her first major project, launching NovaMind's expansion into Southeast Asia. It was an ambitious goal that aligned with Ben's vision for the company's global reach, but it presented challenges in navigating new markets, building local partnerships, and understanding regional financial regulations. Samantha approached the project with meticulous planning. She spent hours researching cultural and economic trends, meeting with regional consultants, and assembling a team of analysts to support the initiative. Ben watched with admiration, impressed by her dedication and natural leadership. One evening, Samantha joined Ben in his office to review her findings. "We're moving forward, but I wanted to share some potential hurdles in the regulatory landscape," she explained, pointing to her notes. Ben listened intently, his confidence in her unwavering. "I trust your judgment, Samantha. You've shown time and again that you know how to steer us through complex challenges." Her cheeks flushed slightly, but she nodded with determination. "Thank you. I just want to make sure we're building something sustainable, something that aligns with NovaMind's values." Ben smiled. "That's what makes you the right person for this role." As Samantha prepared her team for the expansion, Ben found himself reflecting on his journey. From the early days of NovaMind to the challenges of the past year, he realized how much he had grown, not just as a leader, but as a person. He had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and doubt, yet he emerged stronger, surrounded by a team he could truly trust. One afternoon, he walked through the bustling office, marveling at the energy and talent around him. He saw Samantha coordinating with her team, exchanging ideas and encouraging collaboration. It was clear she had found her place, and Ben felt a surge of pride, knowing he had played a part in her journey. Later that day, Ben gathered his senior team to share his reflections. "We've been through a lot as a company," he began, looking around the room, "but I believe that every challenge has made us stronger. We're not just building a business, we're creating a legacy." The team nodded, their faces reflecting the same pride and commitment. With Samantha by his side and a devoted team behind him, Ben felt ready to lead NovaMind into a new chapter. Months of preparation culminated in the official launch of NovaMind's Southeast Asian expansion. Samantha's team had secured key partnerships, and her carefully crafted strategy ensured a smooth entry into the new market. The entire company buzzed with excitement, knowing that this move represented a major milestone in Novamind's history. On launch day, Samantha and Ben hosted a virtual press conference, addressing media representatives, investors, and partners worldwide. Samantha's poise and expertise shone through as she answered questions, explaining the company's vision and commitment to ethical, sustainable growth. When the event concluded, Ben turned to her, his expression filled with pride. "You did an incredible job. This is a major accomplishment, for both of us." Samantha smiled, a mixture of relief and excitement in her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance, Mr. Cooper. This company has become my home, and I'm grateful for the chance to be part of its future." The success of the expansion solidified Samantha's role as a respected leader within Novamind. Her colleagues admired her dedication, and her team responded to her leadership with loyalty and enthusiasm. Ben took every opportunity to highlight her achievements, encouraging her to step into the spotlight. During an internal leadership meeting, Ben formally acknowledged her contributions. "Samantha's work on the Southeast Asia expansion has set a new standard for our company," he announced, nodding toward her. "Her expertise and vision have paved the way for future success, and I am proud to call her a leader in this organization." Samantha felt a wave of pride and humility as her colleagues applauded. Her journey had been anything but conventional, but she knew she had earned her place. With Ben's encouragement, she began to see herself not just as a team member, but as a cornerstone of Novamind's future. Months after the expansion, Ben and Samantha found themselves in his office once more, discussing the next steps for Novamind. The company had come full circle, strengthened by adversity and poised for a future defined by innovation and trust. As they talked, Ben felt a sense of peace and satisfaction. "You know, Samantha, there was a time when I wasn't sure if Novamind would survive the challenges we faced. But now, looking back, I realize that every setback brought us to where we are today." Samantha nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Sometimes, it's the hardest moments that bring out the best in us. Novamind is stronger because of everything it's been through, and because of the people who believe in it." Ben smiled, extending his hand to her. "Here's to Novamind, and to the future we're building together." Samantha shook his hand, her grip firm and resolute. "To Novamind, and to a future defined by resilience and integrity." As they looked out at the city skyline, both felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Their journey had transformed them, forging a bond based on trust, respect, and shared purpose. Together they had built a legacy, and they knew that Novamind would continue to thrive, guided by the values they had championed from the very beginning. If you enjoyed this story of resilience, trust, and triumph, don't forget to subscribe. By subscribing, you won't miss out on more incredible tales of ambition, loyalty, and the power of integrity. We have more stories lined up to inspire and captivate, so hit that subscribe button and join us on our next journey. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.